Welcome to Franky D Crafter, a channel dedicated on crafting biomes for your tabletop needs. This week, we're starting a jungle playlist. And what better way to start it than with a modular temple? Let's do this. Since I joined the hobby, I've been hoarding packaging foam from my family members, and I feel like I finally hit the jackpot with this one. The texture makes it perfect for a temple idea that I've been bouncing back and forth in my noggin. The idea is to build an Aztec-like temple for my goblins. I want to be very clear, these are not ruins. The culture in these temples is still very alive and very active. Picture the Aztecs before they were conquered. Let's get started. First of all, I want to apologize to those who don't have a Proxxon hot wire cutter. Without this tool, this project would take some serious cutting skills that I'm sure I don't possess. The very first and most important thing to do is mark off where your wire comes down at a 90-degree angles and mark it. And then you slant the wire so that it cuts at an angle. The angle is not as important as long as all your pieces are cut at the same angle. Got it, homies? The next step is to make sure that all the walking surfaces are your desired length. I know a lot of crafters do a 3-inch walking path with their tiles, but I figured that these were built by goblins, so I want to cut that down to 2 inches instead. From here, you just go back and forth between angles, cutting your pieces. Look at me using that ruler I got from that miniatures deals a few months back. Now, since I want to get the most out of my material, I decide the length of the modular pieces based on what will be the least wasteful measurements. I told you I was cheap. I decided to make some 9x2 inch tiles. Now, you are more than welcome to change these measurements. I plan to make tiles for the corners of the temple as well, so for those I will make them 8x2 inches of walking space, and then just cut the corner at an angle. I also made some bad cuts, so instead of throwing the pieces out, I trim it and get rid of the mistake. Now I have pieces that are 3x2 inches, of walking space. Mistakes are important while working on projects. I tend not to go against them and instead work with them. It's okay to make mistakes. The best artists often do. It's their job as artists to make those mistakes look intentional. Enough of that fancy talk. We came here to build some badass Templo Mexicano. That's a little Spanish for you guys. Now we have to visualize the temple, feel the temple, taste the temple. I want to make sure we have some open areas for the players, places to battle in. Like I said before, I like to make things look fancy, but at the end of the day, I'm still a grown-ass man that likes to play with terrain. So I have to have that entertaining eye out while designing. I have a good idea on what I want to accomplish by this point and set out to work on some small details that I know will end up going a long way. I make sure not to take away too much walking space. I set out to cut some details off the side. I think it's just about a 1/4 inch. Now back to the madness. This is the type of project that I just get really into. I had the idea running through my mind for a while, but I couldn't think of an interesting design that I was happy with until I saw a picture from one of my patrons. I got his permission to do this video using his design as a starting point. By the way, if you are into podcasts, check out the Wild Eye podcast. They helped inspire this video, so go show them some love. Let's work on some more details. For this next step, I honestly just eyeball it. As I was saying, I don't get hung up on measurements. Just look at me use the ruler that so many of my friends call me a hoarder for keeping. Well, I'm still a hoarder. Let's move on. I dropped the ball on this ankle right here. So just imagine me doing more of that fancy line work on the top of the tile. These measurements actually matter. I used the width of that silly ruler again for this one. The reason why it matters is because this is the top of your tiles and you're gonna be placing them next to each other, connecting them. So if they are off, it will be noticeable. Then using my hot wire knife thing, I trace over all the line work. This takes some time to master. I go back and forth by turning it on and off, depending on how hot the tool gets. If there is too much Mexican heat, you will have less control of the thickness of the lines. Once you see the tool is making the lines thicker than you want, you can turn the tool off. I wait a few seconds, then continue to work while it's cooling off. Turn it back on when the tool no longer cuts. Repeat the cycle until you're finished. You don't have to be amazing at drawing to make something look interesting. I decided to draw a simple design that is commonly found in Aztec ruins. I repeat this pattern on most of the vertical spaces I drew using the silly ruler. Once you get an idea of what you want with all the pieces, you can mess around with all the shapes. This will most likely be the top of the temple. When you work on your own version, I encourage you to experiment. It's always great to have something personal and unique at your table. I make a few of these tops and try a few designs on the top to see what I like best. I started to design the tops in square brick style, but I thought about this and I said, the streets where I grew up in Mexico, the roads and the surfaces of places like this were made from the stones found in the area. So why don't I just do that instead? I also made an icon of one of the most important spirits that the goblins worship, the spirit of cycles. After that, I start plotting on how I will take advantage of how I use these tiles. There are so many ways to stack and place them. My brain is racing right now. I can't wait to finish this project. If you're enjoying the content, don't forget to like, subscribe. Any questions, hit me up in the comment section below. For some reason, I made a ball from the sculptor mold I used in the raw terrain. Check out that playlist after this video, but I decided to use this to texture the foam. It was very tough actually. I only textured some surfaces, leaving all of the outlines untouched. I primered the pieces using Jeremy's black modpodge mix. Fun fact, I got to meet Jeremy from Black Magic Craft at Maze. I actually got to meet all the other guild masters there too. That was an awesome experience. Maze was great and I can't wait to attend it again. The whole experience still feels unreal to me right now. From here I dry brush. I do this because I want my colors to be bright when I place them. Remember, I'm not going for ruins. These temples were very colorful in their time. The brush I'm using is making me waste a lot of paint, but it gets great coverage. So, I really don't care about wasting paint. I make sure to put some good music on for this next part. Maybe even listen to a podcast. Maybe even listen to a podcast I mentioned earlier. All I'm saying is that I would have gone crazy doing this step if I wasn't also distracting myself. I'm painting the stones individually. What you see on screen right now isn't even all the pieces I've made. At this point, I have made up my mind on the color scheme. I will mostly be using primary colors, blues, reds, and yellows. Keep it in mind that I'm adding these colors in layers. I continue to add more life into this temple with a beautiful light blue. I'm not about to have some basic floors up in this temple. Let's add some color. Let's add different color stones up in there. Let's start with some stronger yellow. You know what I'm saying? Spice it all up with some orange. Oh wait, spiced it all up, it's too bright. Let's add a little bit of purple to bring that all back. Perfect. From here, I will demonstrate the wash step in this little tile. Make sure your paint is completely dry before doing this step. Get into these crevices. This will also help highlight the texture of the foam. I'm using a light brown homemade wash, nothing fancy. I touch it up with some vanilla dry brushing secret hidden technique. This technique works best when you make sure it hits all the edges. I start to add more highlights when I notice that the earthy red is not on point. Like, it's missing some life. It's not bright enough. It's not redded. The black underneath it is showing too much through the color. So I decided to add another layer, but this time with a drop of white. And instead of dry brushing the highlight, I will paint my way to it. I know, risky, but the confidence you goons have given me over this year, I can finally trust myself with the task. Check out that move right there. Now I am planning on adding some plants or vines, but for now I'd rather just do the other terrain and see what looks better when it's all done. And that is pretty much it, sort of, because it's a playlist. This is only the beginning. I'm still gonna craft different things from the temple itself. I'll show some pictures. You're gonna notice that I have some palm trees and I have some stair stuff. I wanna do some more stuff. I've been bouncing the idea of doing little like temple things with like a waterfall coming out of it. There's a lot I can do with this. And it's only possible because of the patrons. Thank you so much again, guys. Your contributions go a long way. Another thing you might have noticed is that the videos kind of slowed down this month, and that's because I got a new job and it's been very time consuming. So it's been harder and harder to craft, but I'm still, anytime I have a day off, wake up super early, get up in the morning and literally just have my breakfast and go into my craft room. I'm trying my best. I'm hoping to get you more content out soon. Like always, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment. If you want to support the channel, don't forget to check out that Patreon link. So thank you very much again, guys. Next few episodes are probably gonna be related to the jungle, with the exception of this fat little guy and some other slime I'm working on. So thank you again, guys, for everything, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace!